So today's all about solving inequalities. It's basically the same thing as solving equations. We're going to follow those same steps. Follow your order of operations to simplify, reverse them to solve. The only difference is this one part right here. If you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, you must flip the sign. So that's going to change it from a greater than to a less than or vice versa. So let's read this problem. If I were to go through and read it, problem 1 says 3x minus 12 is less than. That's right. If it points to the left, it's less than. So you can kind of keep those words. So 3x minus 12 is less than 3. So let's solve it like we normally do. What would you guys do first to solve this equation? Add 12. So we have 3x is less than 15. Then what would you do? Divide by 3. Now, anytime that you divide, you have to think to yourself this sentence up here. Did I divide by a negative number? Nope. So I leave the sign the same. So I end up with x is less than 5. So the additional part that we have to do on here is we have to say what numbers are less than 5, because it can be anything less than 5 will make this equation work or this inequality work. So instead of like listing out all those numbers, because that would be an infinite amount of numbers, we make a number line. I keep my number line really simple. So draw a number line and put your answer in the middle. Now, you want to make either an open circle or a closed circle. So let's talk about that. I'll just put a little guide here in the middle, make you a little box. If your equation is less than or greater than, you're going to make an open circle at that number. Because what that means is we can get really close to that answer, but we cannot equal that answer. Now, if you have the line underneath it, it means less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So if it has the line, we make a closed circle. Yep. So for our problem here, since it doesn't have the line, we're going to put an open circle at 5. Then you want to shade your number line. Now, I grew up in the 80s, so I call this little thing a Pac-Man, but you can call it an alligator crocodile, whatever you want to do. There is a shortcut for it. Some of you might remember from middle school, your teacher said, well, whichever way it points is which way it shades. But that only works if X is on the left side. And we'll see some problems where X might move to the right side. So here's how I remember it. If Pac-Man eats the number, you shade left. If it eats the variable, you shade right. So if it eats the number, shade left. If it eats the variable, you shade right. So in this problem, it eats the number. Like we can put some little teeth on here. Chomp, 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 chomp. Get it? Okay. All right, so we're going to shade it to the left. So this method will work for anything that you have. So if it eats X, shade right. If it eats the number, we shade to the left. So remember that little key and that little guide there, because I can't tell you which one it is, if it's open or closed, or we shade left or we shade right. And we do inequalities in this unit and the next unit. So know it now so you don't forget for later. So our final answer here is actually 2 parts. Your final answer is the inequality, but also the number line. So when you do these tonight, I have to see both things to give you full credit and give you that final answer. And we graph anything that has that inequality with it. All right, let's move on to problem 2. What would you do in problem 2? Good. Distribute the 5. So we have 6 plus And then what's that symbol? Less than or equal to 41. Now, at this point, what would you do? Combine like terms. So 6 plus 10 is 16. So we have 16 minus 5x is less than or equal to 41. Subtract the 16. So we have negative 5x is less than or equal to 35? 25? Oops, yeah, 25, sorry. And then what's the next step? Divide by what? Oh, what happens when we divide by a negative? Good. So you might want to make yourself a note, maybe put a little star, draw an arrow, whatever you need to do. This is why I highly recommend talking to yourself, maybe, in your head. But like if you are following the steps here, you're like, okay, minus 16, divide by negative. Oh, I said divide by negative. I need to flip the sign. So don't forget to do that as you're going through these problems. And you're going to see some when we actually graph linear inequalities. So we're going to graph lines that are inequalities. And you got to remember to flip that sign. All right, let's make our number line. So you make a line and put just the answer. That's all I need is the answer on the number line. Is it an open or closed circle now? Closed. How do we know it's closed? It's got the equal to. So if it's equal to that number, it can be that number. That's why we make a closed circle. And then, is it eating the number or x? X. So if it eats x, we shade to the right. Did you ever think at the beginning of Math 2 you were going to solve equations this quick? Like, think back. We started off a little slow and now we're like, boom! Just go for it. All right, so final answer again is the inequality and the number line. All right, problem 3. Write that one down. What would we do first? Good. Let's distribute that too. Leave everything exactly how it looks in the same spot. It'll make things easier. So let's just distribute that 2. We get. Good. Just bring down that plus 22. Combined up your like terms. So at the end, that's going to change to a 24. What's our next step? Subtract the 24. What's 12 minus 24? Negative 12. And then last step. Do I flip the sign here? But I get a negative. I didn't divide by the negative. That's right. So you can have a negative answer, but you only flip the sign if you divide by that negative. So we divided by 6, just positive 6. So the sign doesn't flip. Everything stays the same. All right, now let's make our number line. So negative 2 would go in the middle. Is it an open or a closed circle? Closed circle. Is it eating the number or the letter? The number. When it eats the number, which way do we shade? Left. Now, back in middle school, you've probably heard your teacher say, no, we're going to shade the way it points. This one points to the right, but do we shade right? No, because it's eating the number. If you were to read it backwards, it says n is less than or equal to negative 2. Negative 2 is the biggest part. Everything else is smaller. Negative 2 is bigger than the answers that you have. Okay, write down number 4. Okay, what do I do first? Good. Distribute that 5. Remember, leave everything else in the same spot. So 5 times 7, 5 times 3. Now, just like solving equations, look on that left side. Can you combine anything? Can you put anything together? Look on the right side. Can you combine anything? Can you put anything together? Yes. What's 35 minus 15? 20. And it doesn't matter what order you put them in, it will all work out the same. Okay, now what do I do? You can add the 15y or you could subtract 17. Either way works. I like to do the variables first. Let's get those variables together. So I will add 15 on both sides. So what's negative 2 plus 15? And now let's go through and minus that 17. So 13y is less than 3. Last step, divide by 13. Now, if you type that in your calculator, 3 divided by 13, what happens? Lots of decimals, so what do we need to do? Math, enter. Let's make it that reduced fraction. Remember, all your answers need to be reduced fractions. On the homework that I checked that the first night, Monday night, solving equations, several of you I saw just put the rounded answer or didn't reduce it. But you want to make sure you hit math, enter, make it a reduced fraction. So the answer is 3 over 13. Now we're going to make our number line the same way. It does not have to be a whole number on your number line. Just put the answer, 3 over 13. Open or close circle. Shade left or right? Left. It eats the number. We shade left. There's no line under it. We make an open circle. How do you feel about inequalities? Pretty good? Not too bad, huh? So they're basically like solving equations. Just remember that one thing. If you divide by negative, flip the sign. And also don't forget to make the graph. All right, let's talk about some special cases. So you might want to label these as special cases so that way you can kind of see what happens if you have something like this for homework, which you will. Yeah. Now, on the homework and tests and quizzes, I won't tell you it's a special case, but you'll notice something unique happens, and then you can decide, hey, what do I need to do here? Exactly. Yeah, it's the exact same problem, just the inequalities flipped. Now, what would you do first? Minus 6x. And what happens when we minus the 6x? They cancel out. So I'm left with is that true or false? Is 2 less than negative 4? No, it's false. So what do we say if something is false? No solution. Now, when you get out a problem like this, your textbook tells you to graph it. But if you were to graph it, if it was no solution, you would just draw a number line and not shade anything. To me, that sounds kind of pointless. So if you get out an answer that's no solution, you don't have to make the graph. Okay? But if you did, if you wanted to, you would just draw a number line. You could put whatever number you wanted to on it. There's no shading, there's no circles, there's no nothing. So for me, I'm like, might as well just not have one, right? No shading, no nothing. All right, over here we would do the same thing, but notice we get the same answer except that inequality flips. So now is 2 greater than negative 4? Yes. So what's our solution? Infinitely many solutions, IMS or infinity. Now, if you were to graph this number line, since everything's a solution, you would end up shading the whole thing. So if you wanted to do a number line for this one, you can. You can put whatever number you want on there. But if you decide to not do it, I will not count it wrong. So either one of these two, if you get out a no solution or an IMS, you don't have to do the number line. Everything else you need to. All right, these are called simple inequalities that we've looked at so far, but next we're going to look at compound inequalities. Compound inequalities just means that you have two at the same time that you're going to graph or solve. So what I want you to do, now listen to these instructions carefully, write down all of this and then solve these 4 problems. See how it looks like 4? Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, and here's 4. So write it all down, solve them, don't graph them. So write it all down, solve the 4 highlighted problems, no graphing. make sure we all got the same answers real quick. If there's something that you missed, please let me know. But on our first one here, x is greater than negative 9. Did everybody get that? Okay. Did we flip the sign on this one? Nope, because we just divided by 3, not negative 3. Over here, minus 7 divided by 3, so x is less than 4. Here we go. Add 2, divide by 4. Y is greater than or equal to 4. And then our last one, add 4, divide by 3. Y is less than or equal to negative 3. Right? Okay. Great job on solving those. I figured those were simple little two-step ones to solve. So now what we're going to do is we are going to graph these together. So this and this we're going to graph on the same number line. So first off, draw a number line that's a little bit bigger. And you're going to put your numbers on there in order. So number lines go from least to greatest. So our smallest answer is negative 9. And our bigger answer is 4. Now, some of your other teachers might have you put the numbers that are between negative 9 and 4. I don't. Just put the two answers. Okay. Now, let's focus on negative 9. X is greater than negative 9, so open or close circle. Open. Am I going to shade right or left? Right. Now, don't shade all the way, just shade a little bit. Okay? Now, this one, X is less than 4, so open or close circle. Open. Am I going to shade left or right? Left. So what happens when I shade? They connect. They overlap. This is what and problems do. Your typical problems that have and in the middle are going to shade into each other and shade between those two numbers. So you have this and this at the same time. That is true. Now, there are some special cases that we're talking about, but generally, if it's and, they're going to shade into each other. It's kind of like we want a number that is greater than negative 9 and less than 4 at the same time. So when you see and, it's these two occurring at the same time together. So it really just means any numbers between negative 9 and 4. Correct. And problems should have a greater than and a less than to make them overlap in the middle. You're exactly right. All right, so let's do our or problem here. Now, what number needs to go first on my number line? Negative 3 goes first, and then 4 goes here. Because remember, you want to put your number line in order. If you don't put it in order, it's going to mess up the and or. Okay. Now, let's start with the 4, because that's the first answer I got out. Y is greater than or equal to 4, which means we need a closed circle, and we shade to the right. Y is less than or equal to negative 3, means that we need a, and we shade to the left. So, or shades opposite. It's kind of like, you know how people say, do you want this or this? If they do those hand motions, you know, you kind of say this or this. They're shaded kind of outside, and that's what I think about. You can also think about oars on a boat. Row, row, row your boat. The oars are on the outside. Get it? Uh-huh. All right, let's do one more type of and problem. Notice this is two inequalities in the same sentence. Now, the ones that we've done in the past always have had something is less than something or greater than something. But here we have something is less than something, which is less than something else. So you can think about these problems as having 3 parts, right? 1, 2, 3. Now, where is the x? In the middle. So we're going to solve the middle part, but once we do, we don't just add it to one side. We have to add it to both sides. So we kind of have to add it to all the parts that we have. So in here, we're going to first do what to solve for x? Add 4. So let's add 4 in the middle, but also on the right and the left. So we get negative 2 is less than 2x, which is less than 16. Now, last step, get x by itself, we would divide by 2. Now we're dividing by a positive, so we don't change any signs, but if that was a negative, we would have to flip our signs. So we end up with negative 1 is less than x, which is less than 8. All right, so now we make our number line. Negative 1 is smaller. 8's bigger. You can look at both of these at the same time with the open or closed circles. They would both be what? Open. And it is okay. You might see this. One might be an open circle and one might be a closed circle. That's perfectly fine. So if you see that on your homework, don't think you did anything wrong. It's okay if one's closed and one's open. Now focus on one part at a time. So what I would look at first is maybe this part. Negative 1 is less than x. Well, it's eaten the x, so which way do I shade? To the right. Then focus on the second part. X is less than 8, so I shade which way? To the left. So I end up shading between, and it is a and problem. If the inequality symbols switch directions, it could change it to an or problem. So just be cautious of that, but 95% of the time you'll see it as an and problem. Both less thans mean and, shade between. Now, if you don't like doing it this way, here is option 2 on solving. So if you don't want to keep it all together, you can split it, kind of like I did down here with the answer. The middle and the left part would go together. So you would write negative 6 is less than 2x minus 4. And then you would do the middle and the right side. 2x minus 4 is less than 12. So you can split it into two problems if you want to. Solve one, solve the other, and then graph them together. I like to just solve it all together because it's less math that I have to do. This one kind of splits to two problems. Does it matter which one you do? Nope. All right, last thing is some special cases. Go ahead and copy down all of this. We're just going to be making 4 different number lines in case these things appear. So what's going to happen if we have these? And the numbers are the same. It's just all the symbols are reversed. So what we're going to do with each of these is we're going to graph them. And if you notice with the first one, this is an or problem, but they're both less than. If they're both less than, they're both eating the number, which way do we shade for them? To the left, right? If we eats the number, it shades to the left. So here, if we were to go through and kind of do this one by itself, this was an open circle at -5, and it's shading left. At 2, it's a closed circle, and it's shading left. So that's going to overtake each other, right? So for or, if you want one or the other, it doesn't matter which one, but we're going to choose the one that shades more numbers. So when you see or, choose the part that shades more numbers if they overlap. So is it going to be the first one with -5 or the second one with 2? The second one with 2. This would be the final answer. This part is going to overtake. So you can think about or as what overtakes the other one. What's a little bit bigger, and that's what your answer will be. It's kind of like if you ask a kid, do you want McDonald's or Bojangles? Doesn't matter which one. We're going to go to either one. You pick which one's better, which one has the shorter drive-through. That's how I'll determine it. All right, let's look at problem 11. Now, problem 11 is the same way, but instead of the word or, it says the word and. When you see the word and, you want to think about what overlaps together. So if I have this same shading from here to here, it's only one part that's shaded, right? So where's more things shaded? It's after that -5 because we're looking at where's it overlapping together. So the or is overtake. The and is overlap. Where do they overlap together? So if I were to make this shading part, I would just do the -5 and below because that's where they overlap together. Have you guys ever seen a Venn diagram before? Right? Maybe in science class, you know, with the two circles like that. The and is this part in the middle. And we didn't get to probability in math 2, but that and is where it overlaps, and it works the same here. It's where the overlap occurs. So that 2, if I were to graph it, the closed circle, and it keeps going, but nothing overlaps until the -5 and below. Yeah, let's do these last two, and then I'll let you go. All right, let's try number 12. Now, 12 says y is greater than or equal to -5. So open or closed circle at -5. Closed. Which way would I shade? To the right. Okay? Because it's eating the letter. Now, y is less than 2 means I have a open circle and I shade to the left. What does that look like? It looks like and, but what's the key word? Or. Or problems, you can keep going on forever in that direction. So since this was greater than -5, I could actually keep going. Since this is less than 2, I can actually keep going. So or can keep going in the direction that you shade. So what happened now? They overlap and I shaded the whole thing, right? What's it called when you shade everything? Infinitely many solutions. So this would be my answer for a problem like this. If or shades like and, it's IMS. If or shades like and, it's IMS. Okay, let's do our last one. So our last one says y is less than or equal to -5. So what do I do? And shade, closed circle, shade left. Y is greater than 2. Open circle and shade right. Well, this is shading like a or problem. Remember, and we're looking for the overlap. Did these overlap any at all? So my answer is no solution. So remember, for and, look for the overlap. All right, it is time for your homework. Now, I put your homework on Canvas, but I also put it up here on the board. This page 80 that you guys see, that is the online textbook page number. So, like last year, you're going to go and open up your textbook. You can type 80 up here at the top, or you might scroll down on the left side where it has the menu and find where it says page 80. But today, I have some actual textbooks. So if you don't want to open your Chromebook, I only have 5 of them, but it's the Algebra 2 textbook right here. You can take one of these, and if you do, though, it's the page in parentheses. It's page 38. So if you want one, come back here and grab it. It's the green book. I'm buying 4 or 5 more, and they're coming next week. Yes, because we're going to Hanging Rock tomorrow. This is due on Friday. Now, also, speaking of Hanging Rock, tomorrow morning you go to your nest group. You're going to check in there. You're not going to stay with your nest group all day. You're just going to check in for attendance purposes with your nest group. And then we have 2 buses that are going to be running, I think. Anyway, the first group is the people who wanted to hike and do like the strenuous hike. They're going to get on the bus first and go. The second bus will be the people who wanted to go to the beach first, because the beach technically doesn't open till 10. So if you signed up to do hike first, you will go on the first bus. Okay? The beach. Probably, I think we decided, which me and Mr. Price talked about it, but we didn't make any formal decisions. But I think we're giving priority to seniors, then juniors, then sophomores, then freshmen. So because they have more chances to go in the next few years. So yeah, there can only be 90 people on the beach, and I think we had more than 90 sign up. So any other questions about tomorrow or your homework? Yeah. Even numbers, yeah. So basically it's like this column right there. So 14, 16, 18. All right, let me stop the